Disability without poverty. You have the floor for 5 minutes. Who is speaking?
Thank you for inviting us to speak today. My name is Michelle Hewitt, and I am the chair of Disability Without Poverty. And also with me is Rabia Khader, the National Director of Disability Without Poverty. We come before you today to talk about the Canada Disability Benefit Bill, C-22, and the need for it to reach disabled people living in poverty as quickly as possible, including Black, Indigenous and racialized people with disabilities who are even further marginalized in our society. The statistics relating to disabled people living in poverty are appalling. There are twice as many disabled people living in poverty than those who are not disabled. This is Canada in 2022. No one deserves to live in poverty, and certainly not from the lottery of life that saw them be born with a disability or acquire one later on. Disabled people do not live in poverty because they are worthless to society. It is quite the opposite. It is because their worth is not valued. In fact, people with disabilities contribute over $47 billion to the Canadian economy. Being disabled is not cheap. Tylenol goes from a headache pill to a daily pain control medication. Our most personal daily activities, like toileting, are not free. I have a friend who waited 3 years for a replacement power wheelchair through her provincial program, only to find that the only wheelchair offer does not fit her. It's way too big. We talk about lifting disabled people out of poverty, but what does that really mean? Canada's official poverty lines use the market basket measure that fails to take disability into account. We hear the stories of disabled people living in poverty on a daily basis, as they're our friends and family. We can tell you about the man who approached Rabia in the parking lot of a grocery store, offering to swap bus tickets for food, or my friend who lives month to month with maid approved, wondering if this month will be her last because she can't afford to live. Throughout these hearings, you are going to hear many unique stories about disabled people living in poverty, but there will be a common theme. We are all united in the fact that there needs to be an end to disability poverty, and the time is now. On October the 19th, we had the honour of being in the gallery when the vote for the second reading of Bill C-22 took place in the House. It was very emotional for the 10 members of our delegation to see the unanimous vote unfold in front of us. We are here today to ask you to continue that spirit of bipartisanship, to move this bill along to third reading, for it to get unanimous support there, to pass the Senate with all speed and ultimately receive royal assent. We believe that this benefit will be most effectively delivered if the details are co-created with disabled people like us, and that collaboration cannot happen in this committee, in the House or the Senate. It can only happen in the development of regulations with disabled people as equals in that process of collaboration. Take a second, reflect on that person in your life you have crossed paths with who is disabled, and ask yourself what they need this committee to do. Right now, they need you to move this framework legislation on. Implore your parliamentary colleagues to do the right thing for disabled people by continuing that bipartisanship and moving through third reading unanimously with no further debate. Tell your colleagues on the Finance Committee that they must put money in the spring budget of 2023 to start paying this benefit out in the fall of 2023. Urge the civil servants working on the implementation of the benefit to ask themselves if the processes they create truly benefit disabled people, or are they caught up in the old ways of ableism that are so endemic in our systems. Time is of the essence. Food inflation is at 11.6%, and yet provincial disability payments are not index linked. It means that in real terms, disabled people fall further behind every day. There is yet another hard winter in front of disabled people, but you have the power to make sure that it is the last one that so many live below the poverty line. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hewitt. Now